Hey everyone, welcome back, movie fans. Today we're gonna dive into breaking down the movie Bugonia. You know, the one with the shocking and confusing ending. Honestly, it was kinda hard to digest. You're left wondering, what was the director even trying to do with an ending like that? And even though this movie is adapted from Korean cinema, the style is pure Yorgos Lanthimos. Super European, not like American movies at all. So it gives you a totally different vibe compared to the meaningful movies we're used to seeing in Hollywood, like it's completely different from Frankenstein, for example. Anyway, today we're going to quickly look at what the director meant by that ending. And spoiler warning, obviously. So first, let's go to the end. What actually happened? The ending is told in a way that you can interpret it in two completely different ways. And there's enough evidence for both. You can't really say which one's right or wrong. The director did that on purpose to get across a specific message, which we'll talk about later. The first interpretation. A lot of fans online believe this one, especially on Reddit. Critics and famous analysts don't really agree, but regular viewers are pretty into it. They say the ending was all in Teddy's head. Just a hallucination. And there's a bunch of evidence for that. Two main points. First, if you noticed, the whole movie is told from Teddy's point of view, just like in other Lanthimos films. Lanthimos has his own style. He tells the story through the main character's eyes. Like in Poor Things, we see everything from the main character's perspective. A kid whose brain was put in her mom's body. At first, everything's black and white. Then as the character matures, the world gets more colorful and real. Same thing happens in Bugonia. Everything's from Teddy's view, which is why there's so much weird stuff. For example, there's a countdown showing the Earth as totally flat. Or when Teddy rides his bike to inject his mom with antifreeze, epic music plays. Even though he's about to do something dumb and horrifying. But in his mind, he's the hero going to save her. So the first theory says the explosive vest in the closet and Teddy hallucinated the rest in his final moments. That explains why the spaceship looks exactly like his hallucination. It has nothing to do with alien technology. It's shown like a living organ. The inside of the ship is inspired by intestine tissue. Blood on the floor, seats like bones, and a sticky saliva like substance on the ground. The set designer even said the ship's interior is based on intestines. Why do we say these images are hallucinations? Because when Michelle, as the alien queen, goes to remove the bubble around Earth, Earth is shown as flat. We know Earth isn't flat. Physically, it's impossible. Gravity wouldn't let a flat disk exist. But inside the spaceship, we see a flat Earth. So we're inside Teddy's head, and this is all his hallucination. Also, everything in the spaceship looks dumb. Weird clothes, weird talk, weird walking. Another thing, all of Teddy's hallucinations came true. His theory about cutting hair, putting cream on the body. Even the jellyfish-shaped ship. All correct. That again shows we're inside his mind. There's another super important point. A lot of what Teddy says comes from a sci-fi novel. Remember when the cop came to his house and pointed at a sci-fi book on the table? It was about a trip from Andromeda to Earth, and many of Teddy's claims were straight out of that book. Throughout the story, they show us again and again that Teddy is completely insane and has all kinds of trauma. Those black and white images we see. Those are visuals of the traumas inside Teddy's mind. Teddy's mom was an addict. That's why when he remembers her body covered in needles. Lanthimos showed that childhood wound as a trauma. There's even a deleted scene the director mentioned. Young Teddy as a baby wrapped in aluminum foil so harmful waves wouldn't affect him. So a lot of his conspiracy delusions came from his mom. And that scene where he's holding his mom like a That's bat. The trauma of her going into a coma. If he let go of the rope, he'd lose her. He always had to hold on. Another thing, Teddy was sexually abused as a kid. That same cop who came to his house admitted he was Teddy's babysitter and abused him. He said,
I didn't do it for pleasure. I did it for power. And Teddy said, I understand. That's why Teddy had such a huge problem with people in power.
He did other weird stuff too, like injecting himself with something that permanently killed his sexual ability so he'd never be affected by Michelle, his first female victim. Later in the story, when Michelle sent Teddy to inject his mom with antifreeze.
Michelle tried to escape. She couldn't. Instead, she found a hidden room showing that Teddy was a serial killer. He had kidnapped other people before, thinking they came from Andromeda and tortured. Remember when he was shocking Michelle and turned to his assistant and said, "I've never seen numbers like this on the screen before." That means he'd tortured others before, but they died sooner. They couldn't handle the electricity like Michelle could. Also, at the beginning of the movie, they showed Michelle's morning routine. If she really was an alien from space, she wouldn't need a morning routine or laser masks to keep her skin young. Another thing, they showed us Michelle's character before Teddy ever saw her.
She was super arrogant, fake, a liar. In front of the camera, she was one person. As soon as the director yelled, "Cut," she turned into someone else. And remember what she said. She complained about why there's so much racial diversity in companies.
When she became the queen inside the spaceship, if you noticed, all the aliens in front of her were from different races. And her queen personality was completely different from her Michelle on Earth personality. So they gave us plenty of evidence that Teddy can't possibly be right. He's completely insane. What we saw at the end was just a continuation of his madness, shown as a hallucination. What he saw in his final second of life while dying in that closet, his head cut off. If we accept this ending, then humanity wasn't wiped out by aliens at all. After Teddy dies in the closet, Michelle gets taken by ambulance to the hospital and the story ends. But humans will eventually go extinct because they said bees are disappearing and not coming back. Life on Earth is slowly dying. So even if Michelle isn't an alien, life on Earth will end, just gradually. But there's another ending too, the one that many official critics accept. That Michelle really was an alien, Teddy was actually telling the truth. All his claims were real, and humanity eventually got wiped out. So what's their explanation for the weird images at the end? They say that inside the movie's world, you can have a surreal universe. The movie's world doesn't have to be the same as our real world. In that world, Teddy could be right. Aliens could exist. Earth could be flat. Teddy could be a victim, and they really did come from Andromeda, and everything he said was true. Not hallucinations. Why? Because he had gotten all that info from the confessions of the prisoners he tortured. He pulled it out. If we go with this ending, the moment we realize Michelle is an alien, the whole movie has to be rewritten in your mind from the beginning. Because now the movie has a completely different meaning. But now you're asking yourself, so what does that mean? Why would the director make his movie so ambiguous? Because that's exactly the message of the film. It doesn't matter which of the two interpretations you accept, whether Michelle is really an alien or the ending is just Teddy's hallucination. In the end, humans go extinct. We already said that. If Teddy was truly insane, humans were going to go extinct gradually, and the sign of that destruction was shown through the bees. If we accept that Michelle was an alien, then all of humanity gets executed together. And here's the interesting part, Teddy caused it. Why? Because on the spaceship they said, "We still have 2 experimental models alive. Our research is still ongoing." What was that experiment about? Michelle explained we aliens came to Earth.
Got fascinated by dinosaurs, then accidentally spread a virus and wiped them out. To make up for our mistake, we created a creature called human. And humans have a weird feature, they're self-destructive. What does self-destructive mean?
It means each person thinks separately and independently from the rest of the group. Everyone only works for their own personal gain, which eventually makes the whole system collapse. Then the aliens said, "We've been trying for years to remove this self-destructiveness from human nature, but we still haven't been able to. We still had 2 experimental models left that were still alive, but Michelle ordered them to stop the experiment and execute all humans. Because she
Why?
had completely lost hope in the human species. Why was she disappointed? Because Teddy had killed 2 Andromedans. And also, the queen herself had been tortured by Teddy, so the result is Teddy indirectly caused the death of all humans.
He put so much pressure on himself to help, and in the end, he caused total destruction. In the end, after humans died, the camera showed all kinds of people, every race, every class, lost their
From
lives.
working class Asian people to white people partying on the beach. But guess what didn't die? The animals. The camera clearly showed that dogs, cats, all of them were still alive, so only humans were wiped out. And at the very
We
end,
see the exact same image we saw at the beginning of the movie bees returning to the same flower, the Bugonia flower. That means the warning they gave at the start got reversed. At the beginning, they said bees are disappearing, and that will destroy humanity. But now that humans are gone, nature is free from humans. And as the camera showed the dead bodies of humans, the song, "Where Have All the Flowers Gone?" played, a famous anti-war song. The lyrics of that song tell a
young
story.
girls pick flowers from the ground to give to the boys they love. Those boys go off to war and never come back. Only a grave remains. Later, flowers grow on those graves, and the next generation of girls comes to pick those flowers and give them to the next victims of war. It's a completely anti-war song full of regret, and it keeps repeating the line, "When will they ever learn?" When will humans ever learn to stop killing each other? They used this song for this scene in the movie. So what does that mean? It means, when will humans ever learn that they're following a wrong pattern, and that pattern is going to destroy their own
But they
planet?
don't learn. Why? Because self-destructiveness is built into human nature. So what is the movie trying to say? Why is it so ambiguous? You can watch this film as a dark comedy, or you can watch it as a tragedy. You can imagine the ending was a hallucination.
Or you can see it as real. That's when we have to go back to Lanthimos' own words. In the movie, every character they showed symbolized a certain group. Michelle symbolized capitalism and powerful corporations, the ones destroying the planet. Arrogant, manipulative
Lying
people, to show that Teddy keeps saying, "You're the reason the bees are fleeing." And Michelle answers,
It's the bees' own fault they can't adapt to a changing world. That's exactly the self-destructive nature of humans, destroying the planet, but refusing to admit it. Teddy symbolizes the protesting people, the ones who know what the problem
They
is.
know where the problem is coming from, but they have no idea how to solve it. And here's something interesting. If you've ever wondered why some people fall into conspiracy theories, the movie says people turn to conspiracy theories out of extreme hopelessness.
Conspiracy theories in society are a symptom of a bigger sickness, a society that's repressed, frustrated, and hopeless. So they turn to weird and dumb explanations.
So Teddy symbolizes those people in our world today who notice the danger. But not only is their behavior wrong, it actually ends up causing more harm. These people can't solve the problem because, first of all, they're just looking for someone to blame. Even if there is a guilty party, they don't even know the right questions to ask. The final message of the film becomes, basically, humans are self-destructive creatures. This behavior is built into their nature, and they're driving the planet toward destruction. And right now, there's no solution. On the other side, the ones who have realized this path is wrong. They don't know what the right thing to do is either. They don't even know what questions to ask, and they can't help.
So the main message of the film shows the current fate of humans with the situation we're in. Whether we consider Michelle not an alien but a real person, her behavior ends up destroying the environment.
Or whether we consider Teddy right and listen to those who understand the wrong pattern. Either way, humanity is doomed for destruction. That's where the word Bugonia gets its meaning. Bugonia is an ancient Greek belief. And you know Lanthimos is Greek. This old belief said that if a cow died, bees would be born from its rotting carcass, from its intestines. It's an old, incorrect belief, and they called it Bugonia.
Over time, this word entered literature. It's used when something is rotting and decaying.
And from within it, something new is supposed to be born. That's why they named the film Bugonia. That's also why the inside of the spaceship was designed like cow intestines, so that from within the human who is destroying themselves, at least the Earth can be saved.
And interestingly, Lanthimos said in an interview, "My film's ending is hopeful." What's hopeful about it? That even if humans are destroyed, in the end, Earth saves itself. That's a harsh critique.
He's describing humans and the way Earth is currently being run as a rotting cow carcass. So in this story, the extinction of humans is caused by humans' own behavior in both interpretations. In one, Teddy's violence causes it. In the other,
the greed of corporations and people's inability to stop them.
The movie Don't Look Up had almost the exact same message. And at the very end, when the film shows the corpses of humans, it fills our mind with one question.
In this world full of real problems, and the internet full of false information, how can we control our anger so we don't become a bitter person like Teddy? And how can we find the right solution without getting stuck in an echo chamber like he did? All right, my friends.
That's it for today's video. I hope you found it interesting. In the comments section, if you have any thoughts, definitely write them down. Tell us, in your opinion, was the ending a hallucination, or was Michelle really an alien? Also, if you have anything else to say about what the director meant, let us know. If you found this video helpful, please like it. And until the next video, goodbye.